Hello, welcome to the Self Learning Podcast by Dr. Sushma Singh. Let us start discussion on Chapter 5 Indian Sociologist, and our topic is A.R. Desai on state. The modern capitalist state was one of the significant themes that interested A.R. Desai. As always, his approach to this issue was from a Marxist perspective. In an essay called The Myth of the Welfare State, Desai provides a detailed critique of this notion and points to its many shortcomings. After considering the prominent definitions available in the sociological literature, Desai identifies the following unique features of the welfare state. The first one is a welfare state is a positive state, which means that unlike the laissez-faire of classical liberal political theory, the welfare state does not seek to do only the minimum necessary to maintain law and order. The welfare state is an interventionist state and actively uses its considerable powers to design and implement social policies for the betterment of society. Second, the welfare state is a democratic state. Democracy was considered an essential condition for the emergence of the welfare state. Formal democratic institutions, especially multi-party elections, were thought to be defining features of the welfare state. This is why liberal thinkers excluded socialist and communist states from this definition. Third, a welfare state involves a mixed economy. A mixed economy means an economy where both private and capitalist enterprises and state or publicly owned enterprises coexist. A welfare state does not seek to eliminate the capitalist market, nor does it prevent public investment in industry and other fields. By and large, the state sector concentrates on basic goods and social infrastructure, while private industry dominates the consumer goods sector. Desai then goes on to suggest some test criteria against which the performance of the welfare state can be measured. These are: does the welfare state ensure freedom from poverty, social discrimination, and security for all its citizens? Does the welfare state remove inequalities of income through measures of redistribute income from the rich to poor and by preventing the concentration of wealth? Does the welfare state transform the economy in such a way that the capitalist profit motive is made subservient to the real needs of the community? Does the welfare state ensure stable development free from the cycle of economic booms and depression? Does it provide employment for all? Using these criteria, Desai examines the performance of those states that are most often described as welfare states, such as Britain, the USA, and much of Europe, and finds their claims to be greatly exaggerated. Thus, most modern capitalist states, even in the most developed countries, fail to provide minimum levels of economic and social security to all its citizens. They are unable to reduce economic inequality and often seem to encourage it. The so-called welfare states have also been unsuccessful at enabling stable development free from market fluctuations. The presence of excess economic capacity and high levels of unemployment are yet another failure. Based on these arguments, Desai concludes that the notion of the welfare state is something of a myth. A.R. Desai also wrote on the Marxist theory of the state. In these writings, we can see that Desai does not take a one-sided view, but openly criticizes the shortcomings of the communist states. He cites many Marxist thinkers to emphasize the importance of democracy even under communism, arguing strongly that the political liberties and the rule of law must be upheld in all genuinely socialist states. Probably the best known Indian sociologist of the post-independence era, M.N. Srinivas earned two doctoral degrees, one from the Bombay University and one from the Oxford. Srinivas was a student of Ghurye's at Bombay. Srinivas' intellectual orientation was transformed by the years he spent at the Department of Social Anthropology in Oxford. British social anthropology was at that time the dominant force in the Western anthropology, and Srinivas also shared in the excitement of being at the center of the discipline. Srinivas' doctoral dissertation was published as Religion and Society among the Cooks of South India. This book established Srinivas' international reputation with its detailed ethnographic application of the structural functional perspective dominant at British social anthropology. Srinivas was appointed to a newly created lecturership in Indian sociology at Oxford, but resigned in 1951 to return to India as the head of a newly created department of sociology at Maharaja Sayaj Rao University at Vadodara. In 1959, he moved to Delhi to set up another department at Delhi School of Economics, which soon became known as one of the leading centers of sociology in India. Srinivas often complained that most of his energies were taken up in institution building, leaving him with a little time for his own research. Despite these difficulties, Srinivas produced a significant body of work on themes such as caste, modernization, and other processes of social change, village society, and many other issues. Srinivas helped to establish Indian sociology on the world map through his international contacts and associations. He had strong connections in British social anthropology as well as American anthropology, particularly at the University of Chicago, which was then a powerful center in world anthropology. Like G.S. Ghurye and the Lucknow scholars, Srinivas succeeded in training a new generation of sociologists who were to become leaders of the discipline in the following decades. Now let us wind up the session, and thank you very much for engaging yourself with the Self Learning podcast.